Story 1. I was in a conference call while someone was presenting a new document we had to utilize. Someone raised objections about it on the call, and the response from the presenter was, "I am not looking for feedback or taking questions at this time." It silenced the naysayer, and I now use this anytime I do not want to deal with someone. Story 2. Thank you, but I have this covered. Please leave it to me. As per my last email, please refer to my previous message. I'll reiterate, let me repeat that. Let's circle back on that later, we'll discuss it another time. I appreciate your position, nonetheless, I will proceed. Let's stay focused on the key issue here, please concentrate on the main topic. I can't visualize the benefit, I'm unsure of the advantages. We have to prioritize more effectively, we need to adjust our focus. This is an urgent ask, please address this promptly. Thank you for attending my presentation. Story 3. I will need to touch base with you later on this as I have a deadline I need to meet on a project I am working on. If you need immediate assistance, try contacting Xavier. Story 4. Schedule a meeting with the subject. Please decline. If they accept, then you may cancel after this acceptance since they have officially accepted your invitation. Story 5. It depends. But generally, I write something like, "Thank you for your perspective. At this time, I think I will move forward with the project and reach out if I need any further assistance from you." Story 6. After careful consideration of how your work product aligns with the strategic objectives I've been assigned, I encourage you to redirect your energies toward initiatives where your unique abilities might be a more suitable fit. Story 7. Had an older colleague once. When someone asked a question, he almost always answered with, "Okay, I think I explained it poorly," and then he went through the whole subject again. Story 8. Unfortunately, your request conflicts with my team's quarterly goals. Please discuss project prioritization with my director, my manager, the founder, or whoever. Story 9. It's your manager's job to assign tasks and to make sure their employees are doing the job effectively. If this coworker is impeding your ability to work, dragging you down, or bossing you around, most likely talking to a manager is part of the solution. Story 10. I am in construction, so you, sir, may consume a satchel of Richards in its entirety. Perhaps, and I do hope, you may asphyxiate to expiration upon them. Story 11. Writes, please refrain from sending further messages in email. Clicks assistant. Please reword this in a professional tone. Reiterating. Looks good, send. In all seriousness, professionally, it is not necessary to respond to everything. Some situations may simply require a standard, "Thank you. I hope this helped" response. Whatever you decide to do, it might be best to take a 20-minute walk or something similar beforehand. Story 12. You are now dismissed. Thank you. If they are in front of you and won't leave, this is not a discussion I'm going to entertain, is a good email version. Story 13. It's actually not telling somebody to go away, but if I tell somebody to have a good weekend or a good week, in my mind I'm telling them to go away. It's petty, but it sometimes makes me feel better. Nobody knows but me that that's what it means. Story 14. I've only worked where you could actually tell someone to F*** off, and nothing would happen to you for saying that. And if they complained, they were told to grow a pair. F*** off with a wink and a smile, maybe? Story 15. Some ideas. I believe it would be best if we discontinued this conversation. I am not in a position to engage in this discussion right now. I would prefer if we could revisit this at another time. I am going to have to end this conversation here. I am not comfortable continuing this conversation. Story 16. Is this a new policy or procedure? If so, please let me know where it has been changed and be sure our whole team is updated while copying our bosses. This has been effective in shutting down a particular incompetent person who keeps dragging our respective supervisors into email threads. Of course, once I call her on it, she silently crawls away and pretends she never said anything. Story 17. Just grin at them without speaking or blinking all day. Every day until it gets uncomfortable, but don't do it around anyone else. That way, they get creeped out and stop laughing out loud. Story 18. If they are trying to tell me to do or not do something or do it differently, and they have no authority to do so, I simply state I am going to do the thing. Let's say they insist my report must be single-spaced when I wanted double-spaced. I just say, I prefer double-spaced, and walk away. They cannot really do anything if they do not have authority over me. Story 19. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. I do feel it is in everyone's best interest to continue this conversation in a group setting with leadership present so we can all be on the same page. Copy your boss on the email. I will gladly accept a meeting invite once a time that works for everyone has been reached. This gives you time to prepare all of your evidence so it is not just a he said, she said situation. On another note, when I have a customer on the phone that I want to tell them how, when, and where they can go away, I usually end the call with, have a magically wonderful day. That is like the polite version of go away. My calls are recorded, but I did not say anything rude technically. Story 20. I need to get this done. And if they still don't get it, you're keeping me from getting this done. Go away. I'm just about to try. You didn't read the comment on that ticket. Story 21. When a specific coworker comes to my office for help, I always say, have you exhausted all your other options before coming to me? It usually makes them go somewhere else. Story 22. Currently, I need to be doing this, and I see no reason you need to be bothering me right now. Professional doesn't mean sugar-coated. There's nothing wrong with telling them directly that you don't want them around, and it is important to make sure they actually get the message. Story 23. Trust me. Please refrain from further engagement at this time. Story 24. I try to do this on a regular basis. Always goes the same way. Right, I had better let you get on. Anyway, yes, I have got loads on. Sorry, but I am flat out. Can we catch up later? Turn away, no eye contact. Single word answers. Yes, yes, yes. Frantic typing. Yes, yes. Makes no difference at all. I think I am going to need to find a new job before I snap. Story 25. White-collar email passive-aggressiveness. 1. As per my last email. 2. Carbon copy bosses. 3. There's a subtle but dramatic difference between thanks and thanks. Story 26. Our personalities seem to be in some type of conflict. Our interactions frustrate me for some reason. I think we could limit them to the absolute bare professional minimum. If you need me, email me or something. Story 27. I really appreciate all the effort you are putting into that project. If you can just draft up a brief that helps me explain the why of it all to the board. Story 28. I've got a lot to do and I should get back to it. I'll repeat myself. I've got a lot to do and I am getting back to it. Stare at them and then the door until they leave. Failing that, leave me alone. I've got things to do and you're distracting me. If you want to get fired for chatting all day, then go find someone else who does too. Story 29. Back in 2016, I worked in a marketing company that focused mostly on vape companies. Most of these companies were run by rude people, and that kind of rubbed off on our work culture. It was not uncommon for workers to literally tell annoying coworkers to go away. Very toxic work environment, to say the least. Story 30. I generally hate rigid software development practices, but they can come in handy in these situations. Do you have a specification document describing the work to be done for that? Has John Doe signed off on it? Have you put in a ticket? Let's put that on the roadmap and revisit it in a month. Story 31. In a sharp and cutting tone, you could say something like, listen, I don't have time for this right now, and frankly, neither should you. Let's focus on what actually matters. I'm not sure how this helps either of us do our jobs, so let's drop it, yeah? If this is about work, fine. If it's not, let's pretend we're professionals for a minute. If your style is all about being assertive, slightly dismissive, but still maintaining a veneer of control and authority, reply like this. Invoking a self-aware, slightly sardonic voice is another way. Okay, I'm going to stop you right there. Whatever this is, it's not giving productive coworker energy. Let's recalibrate. I don't think this vibe is working for me. Maybe we should try literally anything else. Not to make this about me, but I really need you to not make this about you right now. It's all about blending humor with a touch of awkward honesty, while still setting the boundary. It's easy even though it doesn't feel like it at the time. Story 32. Identify the specific problem. What behavior is actually bothering you? Is it professional behavior, such as how they are doing their work or quality standards? Or is it personal, like their language constantly interrupting your work or hygiene? Once you have identified the specific problem, you can ask them nicely to refrain from or correct the behavior. If you just tell them to go away and say, "You are bothering me," without specifying what behavior bothers you, then you might seem inconsiderate. Also, try to see it from their perspective. It's hard to be more specific without knowing the specific problem. Story 33. I am doing my best to balance the customer and business needs, as we all are, and will continue to do so. Please feel free to reach out to your supervisor if you're feeling affronted. I am sure she would be happy to help you sort this out. Story 34. Hey, I have to get this thing read and done on my computer, and I have no self-control. I will keep talking to you unless I start doing this. Story 35. Hi, Shikarveli. Hope you had a great weekend. Looking forward to connecting next week. Thank you for the ongoing guidance. Best regards, Boner Coke. I'd guess that nearly 50% of those copied on the email would overlook this. The other 50% would get you fired, though. Story 36. I'll ignore that immediately. Does the boss know you're wasting my time and jeopardizing the completion of the important project? Story 37. You have to hit them with the "as per my last email." Also, I unfortunately do not have the free time to devote to this matter right now. Perhaps your supervisor can assist you with task management if you find yourself with this much available time in your work schedule. This sets boundaries while also passively aggressively implying that they have things they should be doing and are not pulling their weight. Story 38. Hold this wrench while I tighten the bolt. If they have time to complain that things are not happening fast enough, then they have time to make them happen faster. Story 39. Understood, after a long email. It's essentially, yes, I speak English and understand how the words create sentences, and that is all the thought I am willing to give your fifth unnecessary freak out of the month, Jerry. Story 40. Once I was saying something to our graphic designer. We have an open office concept. He just yelled out, "Oh, forget you." And we all laughed and went back to work. Human resources asked us to not swear at each other anymore. It depends on the relationship. I am a pretty laid-back person, and in those situations, I think people can be frustrated and say things that are emotional, and that's fantastic because they're not saying it behind your back and you know where they stand. You can address it. You can correct the situation whether they're right or you're right. Like in this case, it was a design decision, and maybe I had been insensitive to how he felt about that decision since he made it. It wasn't huge, we moved on. We're still friends almost 10 years later. People should tell each other when they're over the line. Story 41. Counter to most of the comments, let me try and make peace instead. The impression I get from the comments is that this is due to frustration building over emails and instant messaging. This kind of misunderstanding gets compounded over delayed messaging channels like Slack, texts, etc. The best remedy for this kind of thing is an in-person meeting without the delay, whether physically in person or over video conferencing. Talk it out calmly. Resentment builds up when both sides refuse to have the crucial conversation that is hanging over them. Is there a way to find common ground with this person? Can you both ask meaningful questions to de-escalate and use your higher brain functions instead of your fight or flight response? A radical candor approach can also be constructive. If that fails, talk to your boss or human resources. If that still fails, or if your boss is the problem, then find a new boss or a new job. Story 42. Used this recently. Excuse me, this is a private conversation, and for the office busybodies. Present your concerns to your supervisor. I am not paid to have conflict with peers. Story 43. This was one exchange between a boss and an underling who otherwise liked and respected each other. Imagine this said in a playful tone of voice between work friends. I suggest you go think about this until you agree with me. High-risk potential. Make sure you're solid with the person first. As long as everyone smiles afterward, you're fine. Story 44. I am in a situation with a supervisor right now that brings this very question to mind. I work at a range, and I was told we are supposed to let people without United States identification fill out waivers and shoot on the range, despite the fact we have 2 range officers that worked in immigration telling them it's illegal. I looked into it, and it's in fact a very gray area with a lot of factors that we cannot control. I have mentioned this, and the fact there is also a communication and language barrier, it's an issue. The rules obviously aren't written in every language on the range, and of course, a good portion of those that can't read them are then removed from the range. I can't ask them if they are shooting steel case or if they have the required ammunition and optics. Many come in with shotguns and shoot buckshot on our pistol range because, again, they don't understand when I ask them nor show them the rules. He made excuse after excuse as to why it's not a problem simply because he can't be wrong and it's not in the rule book. This is a man that yelled at me for not wearing hearing protection when cleaning the closed range. If people are shooting while I'm sweeping brass down range, I have bigger worries, but sure. So yeah, I have to kindly tell him to leave me alone all the time. Story 45. Hey, why aren't you a member of the teachers' union? You give me a libertarian or Donald Trump, make America great again, speech about private capital and all this nonsense. We're employees of the state. Your income is completely fixed on this track. If you think you're going to be a millionaire teacher someday, you should be in a private school. This job pays better than all my other opportunities. Because of the union. No, it's not because of the union. You realize for tenure, I'm one of the votes who approves your tenure application, and since you're not a union member, they'll never give you a tenure track position. Well, I'll take it up with, just gonna stop you right there. The reason I'm talking to you is the dean asked me to for your own career. Well, I'll go above the dean. All right, see how that goes.